The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
All right, welcome to Weird Wednesday. I'm Justin.
Hey, I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. We podcast about a lot of different things, but on Weird Wednesday specifically, we talk about the paranormal or conspiracies. It just kind of flip-flops back and forth. So JP's taking lead on this one, and just an FYI for those that really enjoyed the Skinwalker Ranch podcast we did, a lot of you have been saying you want more on that, and I promise you're going to get it. But like we said in our Patreon cast yesterday, we just don't want to be retreading the same thing. So we're going to take time to do more research, get more stories, and within the next week or so, we should have a part 2 to the Skinwalker Ranch discussion. But JP, as for today, man, what are we going to be talking about?
Well, you know, one of my favorite mythical creatures, which is, it's not a creature, more of like a spiritual entity. A lot of people have a lot of conflicting opinions, but talking about the Succubus of legend, you know, female entities who feed off of the sexual energy and life force of generally men.
If they feed off the sexual energy, I'm surprised you've not been attacked by one yet.
I haven't been so lucky. I've got enough to spare, so they're, you know, I'm happy to let them siphon some off.
Right.
Save me a few masturbation sessions per day. So
yeah. Whatever helps you out.
Yeah, but no, man, these go back like way back into history. I mean, I think even like ancient Egyptians had had encounters with these, or what they believed to be succubus. But one pretty interesting account I found came from the 19th century, man. It is with this French author, and it's just it's wild stuff. You see what I mean?
I want to hear it.
All right. Well, this it's a guy who was like super pious, you know, back in the day. And a lot of people even now think, you know, if you live a righteous life, you do a lot of praying, you know, all this kind of stuff, it'll protect you from evil spirits, especially the succubus. But according to this French author, that's not only is that not necessarily true with the succubus, they actually target people who are kind of like pure, wholesome, devout.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of a corruption of the innocence type of thing. It's all, you know, you see a lot in vampires, you know, vampire mythology. They like to feed off of virgins. Much the same thing.
So what is it like? Originally, you're saying it was thought that if you were a wicked, immoral person, that the succubus would come after you, but it actually has been proposed that they want quite the opposite.
Right. If you're a nice, wholesome, upstanding, especially maybe even a virgin, you're going to make a much more sumptuous meal.
Succubuses suck, no pun intended. It's kind of like those people that pretend to be broke down and then rob you when you stop to help them. Like, thanks for punishing people for being good.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, this 19th century French artist, J.K. Huysmans, I probably didn't say that right, but nonetheless, he became the target of a succubus while he was sleeping in a monastery. He was on a pilgrimage. He had been searching out all these like paranormal events. He's kind of like an old-timey Ghostbuster in a way. Okay. You know, the only difference is nowadays he'd have a YouTube channel. Back then he just kept a journal and wrote books and stuff. But
he'd have had a vlog back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he's going on these pilgrimage, seeking out all this different stuff. But he'd kind of come to the end of his journey, and he sort of went back to just his Christian faith, you know.
Right.
And one night he was sleeping in this monastery. He awoke suddenly, and he was just basically in the middle of he was reaching the end of his rope. He woke up splooging.
Is that what I was wondering what you were going for there?
Kind of a diplomatic way of saying it, but no, he woke up in the midst of orgasm.
Well, that was just a wet dream. You know what that sounds like to me, though? That just sounds like some guy in the 19th century had a wet dream, was embarrassed. It probably was harder to hide back then.
Oh, wow.
And, decided, hey, I got attacked by a succubus. Totally didn't splooge on myself.
Well, according to him, he says as soon as he woke up, he glimpsed a succubus as she was vanishing. So imagine this. You know, he wakes up mid-explosion, and glimpses this succubus, entity, and it vanishes just as quick as, the stuff leaves his penis.
Oh, if that's the case, then I got attacked by several succubuses when I turned about 12, 13,
But this is what he's saying. He said it was not a dream. He said that the bed he was sleeping in was wet.
Was disgusting.
And he said it held evidence of another form that had laid beside him while he slept.
Like there was an indention in the bed or something?
That's what he's saying. It's kind of sort of like what, what's his name? Dan Aykroyd said he had a similar account. I don't know if he
I heard that on the Joe Rogan podcast,
right.
But he didn't say it was a succubus, did he? He was just saying it was a ghost.
Just a ghost, yeah. But he said that he did feel like there was a presence in the bed. But anyway, sorry, I got congested.
I was about to say, are you being attacked by a succubus right now?
No,
Is that what's happening?
I'm not that close to climax. I'm getting close, but not that close. But no, there was a belief that incidents like that took place because succubus would seek the, basically the man seed of the men they targeted, and that would change the succubus into a incubi, which is a male demon, and they would use that to impregnate female targets. So basically, a succubus at certain points will want to steal your man seed so it can transform itself into a male demon and then target a female. I don't know.
Wait. All right, hold on. And by the way, side note, if our mics sound off or there's some weird, we're having a lot of audio issues. Our engineer was just in here a little bit ago working on it, but it's not done. So, and people who regularly listen to our podcast, the next week or so may be a little off. So hopefully there's nothing that noticeable. But if there is something wrong with the audio, we're having some serious board issues in here. But anyways, so what you're telling me is the succubus is a sex-changing demon, and it's just as simple.
Gender fluid.
So it has it's a female.
Yes.
And it bangs a human.
Right.
And then it turns into a male succubus, and then it bangs a female, and does that turn it back to a female? Because, all right, so if the man seed turns it into a male,
yes,
is it going to stay a male now?
What they call an incubi.
Okay.
And once it's an incubi, a male demon, it will, get your daughter, your girlfriend, your wife, your grandma, whatever woman is in the house, will get her pregnant. And, basically you'll have like a demon seed, upstairs from you. And then, it's just kind of like a cycle,
I've known some people whose children could have succubus fathers.
Yeah.
If you said demon spawn, because, man, some of them kids out of control.
It does make you wonder. So, yeah, that was just, kind of common belief back then. And when people like that had these sort of experiences, it does make you wonder.
That's just odd, though. So, again, it stays a male, though, right? It's the male seed that turns it into a male. Yes. So is it a male for the rest of its existence?
That's kind of up to conjecture. A lot of people think that it is a cycle. Once it releases the demon seed into the woman, that it goes back to being a succubus and it starts all over again. A lot of people think that, a succubus will remain a succubus and not even like get your physical, seed off of you. It just siphons the energy. So it's a lot of accounts and a lot of, beliefs about that.
I always wondered if sirens were succubuses. Like I know they lead, sailors to their doom, and then it's reported they drown them or whatever. But I've always kind of wondered if there was a connection between the succubus and the siren.
You would think. And you also got to, back in the day, men were looking for reasons to demonize women.
That's true.
And that had a lot to do with that, too. I mean, you go back to women being called, witches and the whole thing, the curse of Eve and all this stuff. But with the succubus, man, there's so many accounts. And a lot of it, I think, is, interdimensional creatures that feed off of energy. And, what energy would be more tasty than some nice sexual energy?
So do you think that the succubus is more of like a other dimensionally creature than it would be like a demon per se? Like it's not so much that it comes from like the realm of hell, but it comes from another dimension?
I think it's one of those things like tomato. What we call, interdimensional, you may call a demon. what you may call hell. You know, I might just call another realm that's much more unpleasant than where we live. I mean, a lot of people would, you know, if I dropped you off on Venus, you'd probably think that was hell, but whereas another organism might live there quite comfortably.
Well, I wouldn't have much time to think anything due to no oxygen. I probably would die pretty quickly. Yeah.
Pretty uncomfortable. But.
Which is interesting. Not to sidebar too far here, but you were saying that you'd read somewhere that some people, some conspiracy theorists believe that we started off on Venus and that became inhabitable, and then we came here, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
twofer. You get you get a one paranormal, one conspiracy, and one video. Booyah!
Yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot to that. So a lot of certain people think that basically we destroyed the atmosphere there, much like a lot of people think we're doing here. And, you know, so we went from Venus to Earth and started all over and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people think the same thing about Mars, like we blew up Mars with atomic warfare, whatever, you know, so.
What do you think?
I think it's an interesting idea. I don't necessarily subscribe to it, but sure, it's interesting. I think humanity could definitely have origins not of this planet.
Wonder what... so many questions for that. Like as far as our life starting on another planet, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It really makes you think. I mean, there's so much we still can't explain about human evolution, about DNA, all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it does make you wonder.
But back to the succubus. Do you have any information on the origin of the succubus?
Like I said, I mean, succubus will go back to all these ancient cultures. You have examples in Greek mythology, you have examples in ancient Egypt. I mean, it's one of those things that goes back super, super far. A lot of people think that, you know, there's certain examples in a, like, biblical study. I don't know if it's, like, canon in, you know, the King James Bible, but...
Canon?
Yeah.
No, if you want the canon, you have to get the original Hebrew.
Get the director's cut, yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. It's interesting how... I mean, they've been through it. Now, what's bad is South Park ruined it for me. Now, when I think of succubus, I just think of the South Park episode where Chef was getting ready to marry that woman, and she was a succubus.
Yeah. But no, I think it is a very real phenomenon.
Oh, you do?
I do, yeah, I do.
So you think there... I don't know that I think anything as far as the paranormal. You know, I don't know what I do and don't believe, but I like to keep an open mind and not disparage those that have, and I'm adjusting my mic, don't worry, you're not hearing some ghost in the background of our podcast. But I don't want to disparage someone for their beliefs, except for flat earthers. Now, I don't really care much about their feelings. But
there's a lot of evidence.
Flat earthers are their worst enemies because every experiment they do to prove the earth is flat ends up proving that it's not.
But see,
anyways, that's not if the counter argument to every time there is every time that there is a discovery that proves you wrong, if your immediate response is, oh, the numbers are skewed, they're working for the government, they're just misleading you, then we can't have a discussion.
But see, you're looking at sources.
I'm looking at people. I'm looking at flat earthers, not sources. Flat earthers, which I guess, yes, they're sources. Flat earthers who have done experiments to prove the earth is flat, and those experiments failed. But see, these are diehard flat earthers too. They even when the disinformation campaign, when the experiment failed,
Netflix and Amazon.
When the experiment failed, they even, much like yourself, still tried to say that, oh no, well that doesn't prove the earth is not flat. It blah 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 blah. No.
But
anyways,
where did this come from? Where'd you watch this?
That's several. I watched a documentary on Netflix. But it follows diehard flat earthers.
But they're not there's disinformation.
So you're telling me there's two camps in the flat earthers. That there's one that's just
legitimate flat earthers, and then there's people committed to sowing disinformation to dispel the whole flat earth.
I feel like the arguments with the flat earthers, though, just go back to kind of like being a kid, and I know you are, but what am I? Like whenever there's evidence or there's anything thrown, it's just, oh, that's just cooked up to disparage and mislead you. And like, I mean, you can use that argument for anything.
Well, but it's true in a lot of cases. Same with 9/11. There's a lot of people out there that are sent out to do kooky conspiracy theories, like the Jews are responsible for 9/11. And they're doing that just to throw shade on the people with actual legitimate evidence. I mean, there's disinformation campaigns anything you go into, I mean.
Yeah, but it's just that anytime a flat earther is presented with evidence where someone's done experiments, like they try to do something where they were saying that, what was it? If the earth if the earth is round, then it should rotate about 15 degrees every hour or something to that effect. But we're going to disprove that. And then they end up proving that it does rotate like 15 degrees an hour. And it's just like, well, this doesn't necessarily prove that the earth is round. And then it's just like, that's just to throw you off. And it's like, man, but that's the argument for everything. Whenever somebody does legit, experimenting on the subject, and then it's just like you go, what about the videos I see in space? Just meant to mislead you. It's fake. Well, what about
they pick the people they have on these things very carefully. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but then it's like even yourself. If I say, well, what about the videos and the live streams from NASA? Oh, they're just created to fool you. And it's just like
there's a lot of evidence to make that point.
Now we won't deny that NASA's edited footage. NASA has definitely taken footage where like a UFO's come into frame or something. Something has happened and they've edited it. I'm not going to argue that NASA doesn't edit what we see, but what I'm saying is that I don't think their live stream cameras are all made in a studio. I mean, they might edit what we watch.
They're really good at what they do. That much I can. They've come a long way from the days of Stanley Kubrick.
Well, I forget. You don't think we've been to space, period, do you?
I think there's a lot of credence to that idea. Again, I haven't.
The dome. You were one that thought we were under a dome, right?
I think you look at Operation Fishbowl and stuff like this, nuclear bombs detonating, and mushrooming down as though they've hit something. It makes you think.
And I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on nuclear. So you tell me. So like if a nuclear bomb was set to go and it accidentally prematurely detonated in the air. Isn't the mushroom cloud, couldn't gravity be what's pulling that back down? I know when it hits the ground and the force
and mushrooms,
the equal and opposite reaction pushes that up. If there was, in the air, couldn't gravity pull that down?
I would think it'd be more like a firework just kind of exploding outward. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm just a guy who likes.
If you know more about it, let us know, because now I don't give much credence to flat Earth, but I will listen.
Yeah, and that the footage out there, man, is real. Because this stuff was taken in the 50s.
But just like NASA, it's just computer edited.
Well, I don't know.
I'm just going to start throwing the flat earthers logic back at them. And whenever you say, well, we've seen live stream footage from space, they'll go, oh, that's just created in a studio. So when or that's just CGI. So whenever a flat earther throws at me, but the videos we've got, oh, that's just computer edited.
They've been caught with their hand in the cookie.
You just created that.
Times. There's actual footage of moonwalks and stuff that it's been admitted it was done, on a soundstage, just as propaganda footage to throw back at the Russians.
Now, see, that was something that I do think we went to the moon, but I could understand the thought process behind we faked the moon landing in order to dominate space. You know what I'm saying? It was a Cold War. We were trying to flex on the Russians, show them we were superior. They were trying to do the same to us. So how do we do that? We both trying to go to space. We get to the moon first. So I do understand that thought process. And I don't completely rule out a fake first moon landing, but I ultimately do think we went to the moon. But anyway, succubuses. Have you ever had an experience with someone or something that you thought could be a succubus?
I never have, man. I've had waking dreams, which right. I guess are similar, but I think those more or less feed off fear than sexual energy, which is super scary. And I also think that could just be your brain releasing something that kind of paralyzes you temporarily, but. We did that paranormal interview with old Matt Crowder about his succubus experience.
He did wake up.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
To sexual activity with a ghost, didn't he, or with something he couldn't see?
Did he say whether or not he actually climaxed or no?
I don't know. I think he did. Actually, I don't know if he.
If he did, man, there could be a demon spawn of his somewhere.
I'm reading here. On Wikipedia that the weakness of succubi lie in the fact that they act on emotion. Mm-hmm. Should one be able to win her heart, They are sure to life. I get Wikipedia, man. I guess they meant to put live to tell about the experience, but they are sure to life to tell about the experience. But if you're able to win a succubus's heart, or succubi when they're female, I guess, and you're a dude, I don't know. I don't know what their sexualities are and sexual labels and all of that, but if it says here, if you're able to win her heart, you'll live to tell about the experience of being with the succubus. The higher level succubi are also known to possess the power to instantly drain the souls of nearby persons. In traditional fantasy form, they may comprise of various sexually appealing forms, from long-haired to freaky-looking and winged. Succubus would use supernatural powers to seduce a man and steal his semen. Then Succubus would transform into an incubus and seduce a woman. Love don't know no bounds.
No, it's now you think you could woo a succubus?
I doubt it. I can't even hardly woo my girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah, so we know that an incubus is a demon in male form.
Yeah.
And then the succubus is the female.
Yeah, demons are super tricky.
Let's see. A succubus is a demon in female form or supernatural entity in folklore traced back to medieval legend that appears in dreams and takes the form of a woman in order to seduce men, usually through sexual activity. Well, that's the best way to seduce a man.
Yeah.
I guess unless you go, hey, we got a jacked up truck.
Yeah,
hey, baby. You want to be a yee-yee boy? Let's see. The male counterpart of the succubus is the incubus. Religious traditions hold that repeated sexual activity with the succubus may result in a deterioration of health or mental state and even death. So don't be making a succubus your booty call. That's the takeaway here, is if you find yourself making sweet, sweet whoopee to a succubus, don't make a habit out of it.
It's true.
I wonder if all of this kind of ties in. You got the sleep paralysis demon, the succubus. I wonder if all of these things kind of tie in together.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, it's just like different parasites feed off of different parts of your body. Like a tick will latch onto your skin, a ringworm will get in like your intestines or whatever.
Right.
I think it's a lot like that. Just they feed off of different things in different ways.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm looking here on Monster Wiki at powers and abilities of the succubus. Super speed. They can move faster than the eye can see, able to appear and disappear in an instant. Super strength. A succubus has greater strength than a human and is able to lift a grown man with one hand. They can fly. The kiss of death. Ooh. A succubus has the ability to steal life force energy from victims via a kiss. This action usually results in the death of normal humans if the succubus is a novice, but over time it can be controlled. Super stamina. They can fight and make love vigorously without tire. Healing factor. They can fully heal from most wounds, including stabs and gunshots. Lust empowerment. By having sexual intercourse, a succubus is able to grow stronger and heal faster due to stealing life force energy. Dream walking. Throughout lore, succubi have been able to appear in the dreams of men in order to seduce them. Supernatural beauty. The succubus will be beyond the beauty of a normal human woman and is incredibly irresistible to men. Almost done with the powers. They got a lot. Sexual inducement. Succubi have the ability to elicit sexual arousal within males to make them instantly crave sexual interaction, most likely through touch. I mean, that's just sometimes everyday life.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Oh, God, you're a succubus. Why do I feel this way? Immortality. So they're immortal. Shape-shifting. Since they are seducers, they can change shape to match an individual's view of beauty, making it easier to target. Now, I wonder this. I wonder if they'll take the form of someone you lust after to seduce you in your dreams.
It would make sense.
Because, I mean, I'm sure, like yourself, I don't dream a lot. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I'm sure you've had dreams where even if you didn't finish, you were, like, making whoopee to someone that you found attractive. Yeah, sure. That happens, right? It could be an ex. It could be just someone you see at the gym.
Someone on TV.
Right. It could be a celebrity. I wonder if they, because it does say they're shapeshifters, but I mean, it kind of says, it kind of implies they just shift to whatever you think beauty is. But I wonder if you lust after someone bad enough and they go into your dreams and can delve into your subconscious and figure it out, if they'll take the shape of that to seduce you.
I think it's totally plausible.
Succubi know no bound.
No, they're shameless.
That is interesting. You know, a lot of times I feel like that's just the work of your subconscious. You've got unresolved issues, or you're still craving this person sexually or what have you. But it is interesting that I feel like a lot of people probably have experienced that. You know, I don't know that I could straight up recall having straight up whoopee in a dream, but I definitely, you know, you've had dreams where you're getting to it or it's going to happen. Have you ever had one where, like, you're getting ready to get into it and then you wake up and you try to go back to sleep to finish it because you're like, no, this was amazing?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it always works.
Or is that
it's
just
like in
me?
a dream, you can never, like, or at least in my case, like, I can never run if something's coming at me, you know?
Oh, yeah. You
Just like
get
in
into a
slow
fight.
motion, yeah.
That's the worst, man. You have those dreams where you're fighting someone and your punches carry no weight.
Yeah.
You're just like,
Yeah,
and you
so
hit them, and then you're like,
in that dream realm.
damn it. But that is interesting. That is interesting. I think everybody's experienced something to that effect. So, overactive imagination and subconscious, or succubus?
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, we talk about DMT a lot. A lot of people think it has to do with releasing DMT in your sleep, creating these wild experiences.
Have you had any possible succubus dreams lately?
Not me. No, no, not really. Like I said, I mean, mine's just like creeping paranoia kind of manifesting itself in dreams and stuff.
Right. If you've got a succubus experience, please let us know in the comments below.
Or if you are a succubus, we'd love to have you on the show.
No, we would not.
And maybe even on the couch, on the desk there.
No, you can't have repeated sex with the succubi, JP. You heard the thing. It could kill you. You could lose your mental state. No, I don't want to interview a succubus. I do not invite a succubus into the studio. However, JP, if you want to take the mobile mic home with you and invite one into your home, you are welcome to interview the succubi or the incubus there.
I'll consider it, and if maybe not, maybe I'd like have sex with a Pegasus or something. I don't know, some kind of mythical creature.
You just want to have sex with something. All this talk of sex has got you just wanting to have sex with something, right?
Yeah, let's wrap this up so I can handle some.
But so, succubus, what do you think? I mean, again, I don't want to disparage people's beliefs. I got to say, on the surface, I do tend to think succubus and succubi and incubus are more subconscious things. I think that they are folklore created to explain things that we didn't quite understand back in the day, such as not premature, but like wet dreams and
nocturnal emissions.
You know, explaining why we were dreaming of these things, and just, you know, a lot of folklore over time we come to learn, or at least come to believe, that it's just created back in the day to explain things that at the time were unexplainable. However, JP, you think there may be something to it.
Yeah. Like I said, I think they're energy parasites, more or less.
Now, I do have an open mind to energy parasites because, like, shadow people, we won't get too far into that because we're about to wrap this up. But shadow people, that's the thing, is a lot of times, I got a book by Brad Steiger. It's been a long time since I read it, but it just kind of goes over a lot of paranormal entities, and one of them is shadow people. But the thing is, a lot of times they seem to show up in times of distress, peril, anger, things like that. It's almost like they are feeding off of your negative energy. And I bragged on this channel a lot. You should check them out, or check him out. I don't know if it's a group of people or just one, but I've heard one guy in there. Bedtime stories. He told a story of a haunting of a young lady's home by an old man. And here's the interesting thing. There are lots of the incredible part of this story was that there are lots and lots of witnesses to have seen weird things happening in this house. Now, one thing against it, there's no video evidence, there's no pictures, nothing like that. Now, of course, you can find the story and decide for yourself. But what's interesting is it's reported that when they went on the Ouija board, this spirit, which was the spirit of an old man that they learned had been murdered, had to create fear and anger for this woman in order to feed off of it to get stronger to help communicate. More or less, you come to find that the reason why this ghost was haunting her and scaring her was because the energy she produced when she was scared, frightened, or angry made the ghost stronger. And the ghost's whole goal was to show who had murdered him.
Yeah.
And that could definitely just be a work of fiction. But it is interesting. I mean, we kind of have that recurring theme in the paranormal, feeding off of energy. Like, that's kind of a recurring thing. Shadow people feed off of energy. Spirit vampires we've talked about. Ghosts now even feeding off of that energy. Freddy Krueger needed you to be afraid of him. He fed off of that energy. Yeah. Now, it's a little more fiction, I like to believe. But still, we do have this recurring theme in the paranormal of feeding off of energy. And you and I have talked about and read where some people say that that's the result of beings from other dimensions that have to, that's how they feed off of energy. So, I honestly wouldn't mind doing a lot of research into energy feeding, if that's even what you would call it, and podcasting about that. I find that to be very interesting.
I think there's something to it, man. I mean, we're all feed on energy. We just do it by consuming, food. Right. So who's to say there's not other ways to accomplish it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you even look, and though it's fiction, I mean, you look at like Pennywise from It. I mean, he ate kids, but he also loved to scare them because which I don't know if that was so much energy, if it was like chemicals, but just the fear tasted better. And it's like, so you kind of have this recurring theme of like emotion affecting consumption.
Yeah, I think Stephen King's definitely tapped into the nexus on one level or another.
Well, it is cool how a lot of his books tie in together.
Yep.
But let us know what you think about the Succubus. Let us know what you think about energy consumption. As always, we love hearing from you. It's our favorite part of what we do. Be sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead, where you get not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8. Well, actually, you do. You get 8 extra podcasts minimum per month for only $1. Now, granted, the more you donate, the more it helps us. But even just the lowest tier donators at $1 are still getting 8 extra podcasts per month, exclusive only on Patreon. And those are a lot more casual. We might start off talking about what we had for breakfast. That can turn into discussing the time-space continuum, which can turn into the raunchiest sexual positions ever devised by man, to flat earth arguments. It just kind of goes everywhere, and not tooting our own horn, but from what we read in our Patreon comments, our patrons seem to enjoy that podcast the most. Or one of their favorites. So be sure and check that out. And if not, we still just appreciate the support of you checking this podcast out. Be sure to give us a like, maybe even comment, share with your friends. And we'll be on Patreon tomorrow. And we'll see you back on regular schedule Monday for another Walking Dead podcast. Probably a Walking Dead What If.
Yeah, I'm sure we got plenty of scenarios piled up in the comments.
Absolutely. Now, granted, nothing big. If something big pops up, and I mean, maybe we will. We'll see. I was seeing something about the plot of the Rick Grimes movie has been released. And if that's the case, then we may podcast about that tomorrow, too. So we'll see. But until the next time we meet, I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.